car order. It's always been car order.
I strongly disagree.
That's the way it is. Lift him out through the window in a nice way.
Just so I can go down and drink a carton while everyone punches on.
Just pisses me to tears. That's the worst thing you can do.
You shut up, you hack. Talking about boat ramps, this is what I wanted to get through from the start. What he said.
Oh, you just been an idiot.
And welcome to the Chumming Up Podcast, the fishing, spearfishing and ocean adventure podcast that believe only cowards fear the truth. I am Squirly and I don't catch yellow bellies, let alone have one. And with me, as always, is the beacon of truth, Leewold Mitchell. How you going, big horse?
Yeah, good. I've never been called the beacon of truth before, but yeah, let's roll with that.
Yeah, loud beacon, the emergency beacon probably, but no. I think it's a good time to do a podcast. We've had a couple days since the Cod Nationals have finished, and it finished in a very controversial way. Let's be honest.
Yeah, massively controversial. Like you said, we've had a couple of days. I would have thought I would have cooled my jets off it, but I'm even more wound up now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of gone the opposite way, and I still don't fully understand why, but yeah, we'll run through exactly what we know has happened so far, the questions we've still got, and people can come up with their own answers from that, or probably not. They'll probably come up with even more questions.
Maybe, yeah. As you know, as far as I see it, it's as big of a thing as the weights in fish in America thing that they had, in walleyes or whatever it was.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean,
massive.
Yeah. So we'll just run through the controversies as they came. Got to the last day of Cod Nationals, and yeah, great win by Billy Westerveld.
Yeah, great win. Boys fished hard, and we had them in the boat auction, so even better.
Yeah, even better. And so during the presentation, some controversies come up, including Bryce Abbott not winning most improved angler because he was seen to be casting before lines in on the last day, and he was on the phone at the time and just happens to catch a large cod. Is it?
Yeah, I heard around 70 centimetres.
Yeah, is excited about that till he's told, mate, lines in hasn't happened yet. So
yeah, one of the other boats next to him.
Yeah. So he chucks the fish back in, reports it, owns up to his mistake, but is DQ'd, so does not get the prize.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it happens, I guess. I don't think anyone was too upset on either way of that. I think they knew it was a mistake, and then also that sometimes that can get you disqualified in fishing tournaments just to keep the integrity of the comp.
Yeah, that's right. And I think where the mistake happened was the day before day 3 was the Dash for Cash, where
Roger.
You all go, you get the horn goes off, you all shoot from one spot like race, and the quickest one there, once you pull up, you start fishing. Like it's a race to fish. Yeah. That's what the day before is third day. And then the fourth day, you get your token at 7:20, and everyone races to their spot, but you have to wait till 7:45 to start fishing. And, some people get there before 7:45, and then they forget, like in the moment, that it's like that. We not almost forgot, but on the way there, I'm like, oh, that's right. When we're driving the boat, I'm like, oh, I can tie on another lure on another rod because we don't have to start fishing as soon as we get there. And we personally seen another boat cast once, and I'm like, you can't fish it. And they're like, oh shit, So it does happen.
Actually, their first response was like, we were here first, and then
and it's like, no, you can't fish yet. They're like, oh shit, they thought I must have said you can't fish there.
Yeah. So it does happen. So that was the first controversy, which I think there's not a heap of fishing comps that doesn't have at least one controversy. But then,
it's weird though because they took most improved angler section off of him. It was a weird, just that's what the penalty was. They just decided that.
Yep.
And that was the punishment for it. And they called it out in front of the whole 104 competitors in the room that night that he won't be winning it. And it went to another angler.
Yep. With the exact story. And yeah. So that happened. There was already a little bit of controversy on the last day of it came into it. It was probably three teams in the running at that time. Realistically, there were a couple outside chances. Even third was going to find it pretty hard to catch Billy up the top. Do you know the names of the three teams?
No. Thomas Pinter was at the top at the time. Billy was a couple of points behind going into the last day.
Okay. Yep.
So the three teams was Team Black Widow. That's Thomas and Steve Pinter.
5 times champions.
Yep. And then there was second was Team Ranger, and that was Billy Westerveld and Lockie, I think it's McLaughlin. They ended up being the champions after this controversy has a lot to do with that.
Yep.
It's pretty interesting.
Yep.
And just before anyone thinks it's got to do with them, they're the rightful champions and the undisputed champs. They should be the champs. And then Team 3, which I think was Team Zamel, and it's Tim Cooper and Harley. Sorry, Harley, I don't think I can remember your last name, but they were in third place.
Yeah. And so probably the first controversy is one team decides to follow Black Widow for the day.
So one of the teams in the top 10, with their multiplier still left on the last day, one of two teams that could say that were in the top 10 that had multipliers, they decided, and this is Ricky Doyle is the team, the captain of his boat, and he decided he was going to follow the Pinters for the day.
Yep.
So just stay. The rule is you're not allowed closer than 50 metres to a boat, and you can't fish in front of where water they want to go. So he decided he was going to follow that boat 50 metres behind in their dead water. So he didn't break any rules.
Yep. And he didn't even fish for the day, did he?
No, I don't think he fished. I think he just watched what was going on. I'm not sure if he wanted to see how they do it because they win so many tournaments, especially on last days coming from home. If he was suspect on something, which wouldn't surprise me because he found something by watching them, but he did it, and never lost sight of them. So,
yeah. And we noticed that on the day because we were fishing near where Thomas had started. And then when he took off, you said to me, I think someone's following Thomas.
Yeah, I was like, there's a boat literally following him because, boats go close to each other, especially the top team boats. And I'm like, there's a boat literally following Thomas Pinter. And I'm like, I think it's Doily, man. Like, this is wild. He's following him. And Thomas was like on 8 on his electric, just burning around fishing. Like, anyone that's ever cod fished, it's not really how you see it done normally. Normally it's slow and methodical, but they were just ripping around all over the shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was interesting anyway. But but Doily was following them. Yeah.
Yep. And then from there, what happens?
Well, because we had, Billy in the...
Yeah, we had Billy in the...
We had Billy in the boat auction.
Yep.
I rang him at about 10 o'clock or whatever it was, and I was like, oh, buddy, how are you going? And he's like, yeah, we're going good. We caught 3 fish or whatever. I was like, fuck yeah, you're killing it. You're going to win this thing. And then I said, like, Doily's following Thomas around. And he's like, oh, we had heard that. I'm like, we'd heard. Like, it's an actual thing, So other guys had been seeing it and hearing it. It was wild, eh?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
So then the next part of the controversy probably is the controversy.
Yeah. So the day goes on. The Pinters catch 3 fish. At lunchtime, they try to because there's a half an hour lunch break, they try to outrun Doily, get away from him, and they're unable to. And from what I'm led to believe, they contacted Tony Bennett, the organiser of the tournament, and said, what's going on here? And Tony rang Doily up and said, what are you doing? And Doily, I think, may have hung up on him, and just did his thing. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He wasn't breaking any rules.
Yep.
And, so the Pinters caught 3 fish, and anyone that's fished the Cod Nats, if you catch on the sponsors' lures on the day, you get bonus point for each legal fish you get on sponsored lure. And and all of their fish had been put in as legal fish on sponsors lures, and
Which were
Doily
barumbas.
barumba lures, and they make hard bodies, jerk baits, lizard topwater lures, they're ripper lures. They're absolutely great.
Yep.
And Doily noticed that the fish at 8 a.m. they caught because he was so close, and he had another witness on board that fishes with him. So dual witnesses that one of the fish was indeed caught on a spinnerbait, which is able to be used on the last day because you can use any style of lure, but you don't get the bonus points for it.
Yep.
So,
and that's kind of weird to use a non-sponsor lure, isn't it? Like
it's not kind of weird. It's massively weird. You would not do it. It's not done. Like, the bonus points are everything. And Tony Bennett made a point of it. There was a fish trawled up on an orgy lure on Hard Body Day, and he in fact said that the 3 fish they got on orgies at that time were the only lures not caught on sponsors lures. So it's pretty unusual. It's not common. And so Doily had seen that caught on the spinnerbait. He had got wind that the lure had been put in as a sponsor's lure.
Yep.
And the procedure for that is you put in a written protest, a complaint.
Yep.
So he put that in, and I had the privy of seeing that through Tony Bennett showed it to me at the end of the presentation night when there was not many people left. I asked him about this controversy because I got wind of it and I hadn't been drinking or anything, and I chatted through it, and he showed me it, and the timestamp on it was 4:55 p.m. the written protest to come in, and I've since talked to Doily, and that is the correct time.
Yep.
And from that moment, action had to be taken. So, because lines out were 3:30 p.m. because it's the last day, so it's early lines out.
Yep.
And presentation was about to kick off at 6 o'clock, so obviously the fish was caught at 8 a.m. It says that in the written protest. It says it was on a spinnerbait, and it says it was caught by Steve Pinto.
Yep.
So then Tony has told me that he has rang Steve after the protest, and at some point after, I'm not too sure when, but before obviously the awards come out, Tony also told me that he was annoyed because all the score sheets had been printed out and he had to go back through and redo them.
Yep.
So clearly, by that mention, the lure had been put as a sponsored lure, barumba lure, because he had to redo the score sheets. He told me that personally.
Yep.
I got to see photos of the fish that was caught. There was no lure in the photo, even though in the rule book it shows you how to take your photos, and when it's on a sponsored lure, there has to be the lure in the photo.
Yep.
And the poker chip for it, but that wasn't in it. It was just the photo of the fish and the chip. And even Tony mentioned that maybe from the way the camera angle was taken, maybe the fish wasn't touching the end of the measuring board, but it definitely looked like it could be as well. And I concurred with that. No, you couldn't tell. No, it wasn't a great photo. It wasn't directly on top of the end of the measuring board, but they I seen it like there was definitely no lure in the photo. There was just the poker chip, and then I assume they tell him what the lure is, even though in the rule book it says otherwise.
Yeah.
And then Tony told me he rang Steve because Steve was the angler that caught it, and I said, be very clear of what was said on the phone, and this is what Tony told me. He said, Steve went, like Tony said, we've got a complaint saying you caught that fish on a spinnerbait. It was witnessed, and Steve went, yeah, we did. Yes, I did. Thomas mustn't have noticed it and put it through as a sponsored lure, which, is skeptical at best because Doily has confirmed that, and the other witness, the second witness, has confirmed that Thomas netted the fish and they pulled it on board, so he's seen what lure was in its mouth. The fish was only 55 point something centimetres.
Yep.
Making it just legal, so the lure was very unlikely swallowed all the way in. You'd be able to see it. Everyone knows what their partner's throwing. Like, there wouldn't have been a time me and you wouldn't know what we're casting. That's just crazy.
Yeah, let alone a spinnerbait on Hard Body Day.
Exactly, on Barumba Day.
It's bizarre.
It's ridiculous. For a team that has never, in my knowledge, ever put a fish in that wasn't on a sponsored lure, not once, because it's not what you do.
Yeah.
So, and Doily watched them both unhook it. So anyway, Steve said that Thomas may not have known that one was on a spinnerbait. But then what's really interesting is the next thing Steve said was, we were just about to call you and cancel the fish. That's what Tony told me, he said. And that's wild because did Thomas not know that it was caught on it? or were you just about to call? Because the fish was caught at 8 a.m. Lines out was 3:30. This is somewhere between 4:55 and the 6 p.m. briefing. When were you going to call? Like, did he not know that that you didn't catch it on it?
Yeah.
Or were you calling to disqualify the fish?
Yeah.
And that's the exact words Tony told me, and I even ran through it twice with him to be super clear. I checked the timestamp on the written complaint at 4:55. I've rang Doyley back today to confirm that. He's confirmed that, even though I already knew it, but confirmation from him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous. And then even to add to it, Thomas Pinter has got winds that maybe we were going to do this podcast and talk about this controversy, so he's been trying to ring me, and I honestly answered the phone and I just said, I don't coerce with cheaters. Don't fucking call me again.
Yep.
And hung up. And which proceeded for him to start texting me, which I didn't reply to because I'm not that silly. And one of the texts actually says, if you hold on, I'll look on my phone. It actually says, the last text says, if it's worth anything much like marlin fishing, if a fish eats 2 liveys tight on 2 rods, it's a DQ. I called Tony instantly before anything broke out, sending that fish through and seeing my dad pick up a spinnerbait to say the fish wasn't sponsored lure.
Yeah.
That's the exact wording. So I have that text, obviously. So what was it of the 3 situations? Was it we didn't know until after the 4:55 protest?
Yep.
Was it we were about to call you? Or was it they've already told him? But the first one would then assume that then Tony was lying about then calling them after the protest, which I don't think is the case. But, there's 3 different stories, and all of them admit that they were doing it.
Yeah. So at the very least, which seems the least likely, there's this mistake that doesn't get picked up through the whole day, which seems very unlikely. But even at that, it seems like you would have to disqualify.
100%. It's falsification of a lure type. Well, yeah, that's what it is.
And I don't think, to me, I just don't see it. So if that's the truth, then someone has to come out and explain how, because it makes no sense to me. And yep.
Bryce was disqualified for his one
Yep.
for a fish that wasn't even sent through.
Yeah.
So it had no effect on any scoreboard. And this incident wasn't, so Bryce was told in front of the whole crowd of 104 anglers,
Yep.
was made to feel little about it and told about it. This was not even brought up in front of people.
Yep.
There was no backlash. The only thing that changed was the bonus point was taken off the fish, but it was never supposed to be there in the first place. So there was no even backlash. The fish still counted. Like there was no come up at all.
Yeah. And so
and then
yep, go ahead.
Yep. Oh, and then a fish like that was basically the points difference in Billy winning it, that bonus point.
Yep.
Like honestly. And like Stephen Thomas Pinter have beaten multiple teams at the last line by less than 2 bonus points year after year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, which could be coincidence, was in over like 29 days straight of this tournament over the years, 4 days a time, Thomas hasn't had a day where he hasn't caught a fish. He's been champion angler for like 7 years running or whatever. And including this one, he won champion angler with no, disqualification of anything after this fish incident, even though Steve caught it. And the day that Doyley follows him all day, Thomas didn't catch a fish when someone's watching him the whole day.
Yeah.
That could be coincidence, but it's still coincidence. It's still, whether it's a coincidence or it's only a coincidence, it's still a coincidence, and it's a fact that he did not catch a fish while someone was watching him.
And we've then been sent a lot of coincidences, which we won't go into, but
there is lots and lots of stuff coming through. Yeah.
And I mean, if the first thing doesn't happen and be reported and then nothing comes of it, then they remain coincidences, but I think now the question's got to be asked of all of it till there's an answer. And it's not for us, like, just so everything's cleared, we were not anywhere in the running. We didn't catch a fish the last 2 days. Personally, it won't change anything for us, and I'd rather not be talking about any of this because I've loved fishing the Cod Nationals. But for third place, the difference is about $6,000. And
cash.
Yep. But also, they, to me, are rightfully the second best cod fishermen this week in the country.
100%, and fourth should be third, and fifth should be fourth, and so forth. And if that bonus point hadn't have been picked up by Ricky Doyle and Billy, and that hadn't won, we wouldn't have won the boat auction, and there was $4,000 difference between first and second. So, it's big bickies, and potentially, a lot of money over time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
So I think there's a lot of questions. I mean, sometimes people say where there's smoke, there's fire, but also where there's fire, there's fire. So the last day is the wrong lure that needs to be answered.
Yeah.
And every other question is a question till that is answered.
Well, there's a lot of answers out there, but they're not given up, not being given. So there's been a committee formed by Tony Bennett of great guys and great anglers. There's about 6 of them or something from memory. And Tony hasn't released, I've seen the photo of that one fish that night, briefing night, but he hasn't released. You just text your photos in of all your fish? Why doesn't he just release all of them? And they should be screenshots. I think it just needs to be a bit more transparent. There's literally tens of thousands of dollars any tournament involved in, there's speculations of years, if Thomas Pinter was banned from another comp, a Teams Fishing Australia tournament in the lake. They weren't allowed to pre-fish or pre-sound or pre-scope in there before the tournament for a certain period. I've seen screenshots of things, and he was well aware that he wasn't allowed to. He asked if he could. They said no. And then he was caught fishing in there before the Teams Fishing Australia event, and they banned him. They kicked him straight out of it.
Yeah.
So, it's not the first offence, and it's been a lot of funny things. The Dash for Cash morning day, we were the closest boat to Thomas. I didn't think much of it. I was chatting to him, and his bass cat was pumping water out, and I thought it was a bilge pump, stupidly enough, because I was so naive. And I was like, man, that thing must have ballast put in it. And they've used it to run across the lake when they got here for the shotgun start of the Dash for Cash. And it went for 10 minutes, never stopped. And then now I'm like, that was probably a live well tank. And they were literally 5 meters from us. So I would have loved to look in the live well tank. And we've got video of the live well tank pumping. So, on that Dash for Cash morning session before we went, you can see my boat in it. So,
yep. So,
yeah,
definitely questions. Hopefully, the right outcomes come for the right people. If we are wrong, then how?
Yeah, well, we're not wrong about the facts we've said about the lure and all of that. There's nothing wrong there. That's all fine.
Yep.
The speculation. The live well was pumping. In the rules, it says you're not allowed to have the live well going. That's another rule.
Yep.
There seems to be a fair few rules, but no action was taken whatsoever. And a lot of people have messaged since, and no action taken. It'd be really interesting to see what the committee come to when they come together. I'd love to see the photos. Like, anyone wants to see the photos of our fish we took in the comp, they're welcome to see them all. They can see everything. I won't even send the photos. I'll send the screenshots of the messages with the photos in it that I sent to Tony, so that I can't even change the photos. You can have the whole timeline for the 4 days.
Yep.
Yell out if you want to see ours. We're happy to share them. It'll take you about 2 messages because there's fuck all fish in there.
Yeah. That's it.
But I think that would be a good start. Like all dodgy things. Now we can only guess how deep it may go or may not go, you know. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting in the world of Murray cod fishing. And, you know, it's answered a lot of questions for a lot of people, you know. Like, I've seen a lot of weird things. It was just quirky, weird stuff, but it doesn't make sense launching at different boat ramps, going back to them before lines in, running around. Last year on the last day or the day before, they swapped a boat, pulled theirs out and put another one in.
Yep.
You know, like, look, there's a lot of strange stuff going on. People have a million stories about strange stuff.
Yeah, so a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, yeah. What are your thoughts, Squirly?
In my view, it's more likely than unlikely that last day is a deliberate action, and a lot of the other stuff doesn't make sense and seems like there's shenanigans going on.
Yeah, and I think the biggest cloud over the top now is the lack of action about it. It seems to be getting swept under the rug. It's a boiling point amongst cod anglers. Everyone's going nuts. My phone hasn't stopped. Neither has many guys. Anyone in cod fishing in this area knows about it. It's going ham, you know, like, yeah, there needs to be some action taken. Otherwise, you know, it just, like any inaction, it breeds bad things. Like it could potentially breed vigilante action and stuff like that, you know, like, which we don't condone, and we don't want to see any of that here at Chumming Up, you know. But it's wild how nothing's been done, and it's so obvious that there's been cheating.
Yep.
You know, and for someone to walk away with champion angler and second place boat, you know, the amount of money and prizes they've taken and other people that they rightfully deserve haven't got, you know, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So I think we'll put this out there, and yeah, if there's answers we missed, then share the answers. If not, hopefully the right result becomes the right result.
Yeah, well, that's all we can do. And I think the other thing is, I just want to say, like, from my end, I can't speak for Squirly, but when you've got a medium like this podcast and you live fishing and you're exposed to something as massive as this is in fishing, you sort of, you know, we can't just sit there and do nothing about it. We have an obligation to report stuff like this, and the fishing world needs to know, you know, like, so yeah, it's just interesting. Instead of having a podcast where we're literally just talking shit, we're actually reporting on something that's a massive deal in the fishing industry, you know?
Yeah. Well, if you can't take our word for it, then there's no point doing anything. When we say something, we're saying it because we truly believe it. So
yeah, that's right. And I've got screenshots of texts and some evidence, and honestly, if anyone's questioning it out there, just talk to any cod angler in the country that you think is reputable, and you will definitely hear something of some sort. Like, everyone's going to have an opinion. You're just hearing a lot of it is ours with facts thrown in.
Yep. Well, I'm happy to call it there. You got anything else to add?
Nah, mate, I don't have anything at the moment. I could a million things, but I won't. So that's it. Thank you.
Yep. Hopefully the Cod Nats will be stronger for the action that gets taken, and I'm sure the committee will do the right thing.
Yeah, well, that's right. It can't be weaker. Actions have to be taken on these sorts of things. It needs to be stamped out.
Roger. Anyway, cheers for chumming up.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what the fuck is happening right now? Dolphin in killer whale's mouth? Holy shit. Oh, this is the best day of my life, God. What?
I like going down the pond chasing bluegills and kamikazes.